Are you enjoying the game today, too?
That is the eternal question, isn't it?
It is. And today, we are diving into something that takes that question and twists it into this weird biological knot. We're leaving the cockpit of your standard shiny metallic fighter jet and strapping ourselves into something, well, a lot slimier. We're talking about Data East's 1986 cult classic, Darwin 4078.
A title that is, it's arguably more of a biology textbook than a standard arcade shooter. This is a game that really stands out, not because it was the most polished or anything.
No.
But because it was just undeniably the strangest.
I have such vivid memories of this. Can I just, set the scene for a second?
Please do.
Okay, so it's the mid-'80s. I'm a kid in a dark arcade. The air smells like, ozone and cheap cigarettes.
Classic arcade smell.
Exactly. And most cabinets are showing tanks, jets, explosions, very industrial. And then I see Darwin, and it didn't look like a war zone. It looked like the inside of a stomach.
That is a very visceral description, but, it's accurate. While games like Xevious established the vertical scrolling shooter, the STG genre with this hard sci-fi military look, Darwin 4078 just went completely organic.
His ship pulses. The enemies look like bacteria.
Or just strange, fleshy geometric shapes. It's so weird.
It was mesmerizing and kind of gross. But before we get into all the slime, let's look at the mission. The lore is wild. We're supposedly inside a massive spaceship that can transport entire planets.
Correct. The setting is a colossal bioship, and your goal is to defeat the biocomputer boss, Beteif, at the end of each stage. But you aren't just a pilot. You're a genetic experiment.
Which brings us to the core hook, the evolution mechanic. I actually tried to apply the Darwin 4078 logic to my breakfast this morning.
Oh no, I am almost afraid to ask.
I ate this massive stack of pancakes, right? I was hoping I would evolve into a superhost, get taller, louder, maybe grow a second microphone arm.
And let me guess the evolutionary result.
I evolved into a nap. I just fell asleep on the couch immediately.
Which, ironically, is exactly the lesson Darwin 4078 tries to teach you. In this game, just consuming more stuff doesn't always equal victory. Sometimes, getting bigger just makes you a much, much easier target.
Okay, so let's unpack that system. Because on the surface, it plays like Xevious. You've got a laser for air targets and a bomb for ground targets.
Classic stuff.
But you don't pick up power-ups. You pick up EVOL.
EVOL.
Which I always thought was love spelled backward. I was convinced it was some secret message. Make love, not war, while I'm blasting aliens.
That's a very poetic interpretation, but no,
Yeah.
It's incorrect.
Oh.
In the game's lore, EVOL just stands for evolution. They're energy life forms. Basically, they're just food.
Right. So you start as this little ship called Bias, you eat an EVOL, and you physically transform. You get bigger, you become Basim, you eat more, you become Sharu. And this is where the game totally tricked 10-year-old me. Because my kid brain was just like, I want to be Godzilla. I want to be the biggest thing on the screen.
That's the instinct, right? You want to reach the final form of the Sharu. It looks so intimidating. It has massive firepower. But here is the Manzai-style punchline of the game's design.
What's that?
As you evolve, your hitbox expands.
And for those who aren't, technical wizards, the hitbox is the invisible area where if a bullet touches you, you die.
Exactly. In most modern games, the hitbox is like a tiny little dot in the center of your ship to help you dodge.
Right.
In Darwin 4078, the hitbox is the entire sprite. So if you evolve into this giant, wide spaceship, you are essentially piloting a flying barn door.
A barn door in a hail of bullets.
You might have a split shot or a wave laser, but you literally cannot squeeze through the enemy fire patterns. You become this powerhouse that is just destined to die.
So the game is constantly asking you, do you want to be small, agile, and weak? Or big, strong, and clumsy? It's a trade-off I just wasn't ready for as a kid. I just want to look cool.
But the game doesn't just let you choose a form and stay there. We have to talk about de-evolution. The stress mechanic.
Oh, the anxiety. There's a timer, right?
Yes. Evolution runs on fuel. If you don't eat an EVOL within a certain time limit, you shrink. You de-evolve back to a previous form.
And if you get shit,
you don't just lose a life immediately in the traditional sense. No, you drop down the evolutionary ladder, and if you hit the absolute bottom,
you become the PISTER.
The PISTER.
Just saying the name makes me feel sad. I am a PISTER.
It's the punishment state. It's the microscopic speck of the game world. It's the slowest ship, shortest range, weakest shot. It is like entering a modern war zone armed with a damp toothpick.
A damp toothpick. That is exactly what it feels like. You're just frantically trying to kill anything to get an EVOL to grow back.
However, there is a layer of depth here that most casual players totally miss. And this is why high-level players actually like the transformation mechanic.
Wait, there's a strategy to shrinking.
Think about the animation. When your ship morphs, whether it's growing or shrinking, the sprite flickers or changes shape.
Okay.
During that specific animation time, the game's code actually grants you invincibility.
You have iframes.
Precisely. So an expert player will see a wall of undodgeable bullets coming. Instead of panicking, they'll intentionally time their evolution or wait for the de-evolution timer to hit 0, so they transform during the bullet wave.
That is incredibly risky.
Yeah.
I'm about to turn into a wimp, so I'm going to use my degrading body to face through this laser.
It's aggressive. It
Right.
demands that you manage not just your position, but the timing of your own biology.
Right.
It's genius, really.
That is wild. Now, I want to shift gears a bit. We talked about the arcade, but a lot of us probably played this at home. And the home console history of Darwin is a bit of a mess, isn't it?
Mess is one word for it. Tragedy might be another.
Let's start with the MSX2, a classic Japanese computer. Hudson ported the game there.
They did. And the MSX2 was a capable machine, for sure, but it had really strict hardware limits when it came to sprites. The arcade game is famous for its colors, pulsating pinks, greens, all those strange organic hues.
Right.
The MSX2, well, couldn't really do that.
So what happened to our beautiful bioship?
It became monochrome, just single color sprites.
Oh, that hurts. So your biological marvel was suddenly just a flat white shape on a black background.
It kept the gameplay intact, but the atmosphere, that feeling of being inside a living organism, was severely diminished. But the more interesting story is about the PC Engine version.
The PC Engine, or TurboGrafx 16 in North America. I love that console. I didn't know Darwin even came out on it.
That's the catch. It didn't, but it exists.
Explain.
There is this legendary phantom port. Hudson, who designed the chips for the PC Engine, actually created a pixel-perfect port of Darwin 4078. It was finished.
What?
It was shown at trade shows. Gaming magazines wrote previews about it.
So why can't I buy it? Why isn't it on my shelf right now?
Because it was never intended for sale. It was a tech demo.
No way.
Hudson used it internally to test the sprite handling capabilities of the PC Engine hardware during its development.
Yeah.
They just happened to have a Darwin arcade board lying around the office, so they used it as the benchmark.
That is heartbreaking. So Darwin 4078 was basically the crash test dummy for the PC Engine.
Essentially. And because of corporate politics at the time, Data East was getting closer to Sega. Hudson was Hudson. It just got shelved. It's a real shame because the PC Engine could have handled those colors perfectly. It would have been the definitive home version.
Man, playing that Phantom version is now on my bucket list. But for everyone else, we have modern options, right?
We do. Thankfully, the Arcade Archive series has released the original arcade version on PS4 and Switch, so you can play the real deal with all the colors and weirdness intact.
Which is important, because if you're playing a monochrome version, you might miss the mutations. And this is where the game goes from unique to, like, conspiracy theory.
Mutations. This is the part of the game that wasn't even supposed to be there.
The designer, Tomo Furukawa, he hid them, didn't he?
He did. Furukawa was a new hire, like 20 years old. This was basically his entrance exam project for Data East. He showed his bosses the standard evolution tree, small, medium, big. They approved it. Then, quietly, he went and programmed in all these secret branches.
The absolute audacity of the new guy. Here's the game you ordered, boss. I also added some genetic abominations.
No.
So tell us about Suppurit.
Suppurit, a name that just sounds like an infected wound. To get this form, you have to do something that goes against every single gamer instinct you have. You have to touch the smoke released by a specific ground enemy.
Arcade rule number 1, don't touch the bad stuff.
Exactly. But if you touch the smoke, you don't die. You mutate. You become this strange, wide, asymmetric shape, and in this form, you are completely invincible to enemy bullets.
Wait, what? God mode. You can't die.
You can't be shot. But here is the developer's joke. The Suppurit has this super wide scattered shot pattern. It is almost impossible to hit a single small target with it, like a boss.
So you can't die, but you can't kill anything important either. You're a pacifist tank.
It's an evolutionary dead end. It's
Yes.
basically useless. But then, there's the legend, the Black DEAME.
The Black DEAME. Even saying it sounds cool. Back in the day, this was a schoolyard rumor. The Black Bat.
This is the reverse evolution, or atavism. To get this, the requirements are just absurdly specific. You have to evolve up to a high level, then intentionally de-evolve, then get hit by an enemy. It's a whole ritual of failure and success.
Sounds like you're actively trying to glitch the game out.
And if you pull it off, you turn into this sleek, black, bat-like creature. You're invincible to bullets. But unlike Sucker It, you have insane firepower. You shoot these shadows of yourself that just wipe the entire screen.
So it is the ultimate form.
But, and remember the theme of the game, right? Dead or evolve. The Black Dean has a metabolism that is completely out of control. It consumes your EVOL energy at a terrifying rate.
It's starving to death while it's killing everything.
Yes. If you run out of energy for even one frame, like a split second, you don't just shrink one level, you drop instantly all the way back down to PISTER.
From ultimate god of death to damp toothpick in the blink of an eye.
That's the beauty of the design. It gives you ultimate power, but forces you to play at this frantic, almost suicidal pace just to maintain it. You have to be constantly feeding its high risk, high reward in its purest form.
I love that. It feels so fair in a cruel sort of way. But let's take a step back. We've praised the innovation. Is the game actually, good? What are the problems?
It has significant issues. It relies heavily on what we call dead memorization.
Meaning you have to die just to know what's coming next.
Yes. Enemies will appear from blind spots or from behind you. If you haven't memorized the level, you will die. There's no reacting to it.
And I remember reading about the bullet speed. Distance equals danger.
That is a very controversial mechanic. In Darwin 4078, enemy bullets travel faster the further away you are from them.
That sounds completely backward. Usually you want to get distance to give yourself time to dodge.
Not here. The game punishes cowardice. If you try to hide at the bottom of the screen, the bullets become sniper shots. You get to get right up in their face to slow the bullets down. It's terrifying design.
Also, can we talk about how some of the cool evolutions actually just suck?
We absolutely can. There's a form called Zugoga.
Zugogo. Sounds like a kaiju.
It fires an 8-way missile.
Hmm.
On paper, that sounds amazing. Coverage everywhere.
I'd buy that for $1.
But the missiles don't concentrate. So if you're fighting a small boss, 7 of your 8 missiles just fly off into space. You're a giant target doing almost no damage.
But you evolved into a lemon. That's tragic.
But despite the difficulty and the trolls in the code, the game spawned a legacy.
Right. There were sequels. Let's talk about Super Real Darwin.
Super Real Darwin, or SRD. The title Super Real usually just meant better graphics in the 80s, and it did look better. But it was brutally, unfairly difficult. It introduced DNA items to help with recovery, but really it's a game for masochists.
And then we jumped to the Sega Genesis, the MegaDrive, for Darwin 4081.
Yes. Now I have to ask, did the math bother you?
It did. 4078 to 4081, that's a difference of 3, y plus 3.
It's pure Data East logic. They considered Darwin 4081 to be the 4th game in the lineage.
4th. We just listed 2. 4078 and Super Real Darwin. What's the 3rd one?
The 3rd is Act Fencer.
Act Fencer, the side-scrolling platformer.
That's the one, Act Fencer, cybernetic hyperweapon. It's a side-scroller, but it uses the exact same evolution mechanic. You collect blue orbs to evolve your cyborg character. So 1 is 4078, 2 is SRD, 3 is Act Fencer, making the Genesis game number 4. Hence, 4078 plus 3 equals 4081.
That is some galaxy brain math right there. But 4081 is actually pretty playable, right?
It is. It's the most balanced of the bunch. If you want to experience the system without throwing your controller at the wall, Darwin 4081 on the Genesis is a great place to start, or the Arcade Archives version, because you can use save states.
Save states are a blessing. Before we wrap up, I have to ask about the title number again. 4078. Does it actually mean anything?
There is a long-standing rumor among the hardcore fan base. They say 4078 represents the theoretical number of possible mutation combinations in the game.
That seems like a massive number for 1986.
It is almost certainly just marketing fluff, or a myth. But it adds to the mystique, doesn't it? It makes the game feel like this infinitely complex biological puzzle we still haven't solved.
It really does. So looking back at Darwin 4078, it's weird, it's punishing, and it's totally unique.
It's subverted the whole genre. In other games, power is static. You get the gun, you keep the gun. In Darwin, power is fluid. It's biological, it decays, it demands you stay active.
It taught me a valuable life lesson as a kid. I used to think the goal was to be the biggest, loudest person in the room. But Darwin taught me that sometimes being a giant monster just makes it impossible to dodge the incoming fire.
Sometimes it's better to be the Charu. Compact, efficient, punchy.
Exactly. Be the Charu, folks. Don't be the PISTER. Never be the PISTER.
And stay away from strange smoke.
Good advice for gaming and for life. But before we go, I have one little provocative thought. The game says if you feed energy to a machine, it evolves. If we apply this to our daily lives, if I overcharge my toaster with like 500 volts,
I really don't think you should do that.
does it evolve into the black DEAME of toasters? What does that even look like?
I imagine it toasts the bread perfectly in a millisecond, but if you unplug it, your kitchen explodes.
High risk, high toast. I like it.
Please do not experiment on your household appliances. Let's stick to the game.
Probably for the best. Well, that's our deep dive into the microscopic, chaotic, and punishing world of Darwin 40LAS78.
It's been a fascinating trip back to when arcade developers were allowed to be truly weird.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening. Will the game be fun tomorrow too? Have a nice game.